February the 25th, 1957, Bellmawr, New Jersey. 3-year-old Mary Jane Barker had gone up the road to her friend's house, 6-year-old Maria Frietta. Maria had just got a puppy dog, a black spaniel called Dee Dee. Mary Jane Barker was playing with the puppy in the front yard of Maria's house. She was close enough to her own house that Mary Jane's mother could see her from the back window. At around 10 a.m, Mary Jane's mother went to answer a phone call. When she looked back out the window a few minutes later, Mary Jane and the puppy were nowhere to be seen. Hello everybody, Shrouded Hand here. This is the strange disappearance of Mary Jane Barker. Mary Jane was described as a tomboyish girl with an independent, outgoing personality. She loved animals and she would regularly approach complete strangers who were walking their dogs just to ask if she could pet them. After noticing that Mary Jane was missing, her mother gathered a few other women from the neighbourhood to help her search for her daughter. It was hoped at first that because of Mary Jane's curious nature, she'd simply wandered off further than usual, perhaps to go and see another neighbourhood dog, but as the search went on, it was clear Mary Jane was missing. By midday, the police were informed of the missing girl. They sent out patrol cars to look further afield, but still there was no sign of her. As the day wound on, other neighbours and older school children volunteered to search for Mary Jane. They began looking in gardens and interiors of houses in the neighbourhood. This search went on fruitlessly till midnight. The following morning, police brought in bloodhounds in the hope of tracking Mary Jane's scent. 2 FBI agents also joined the investigation into the disappearance. Over 500 local people joined in the search as well. By 5 p.m. that day, a possible clue was found. As the search spread further afield, a set of footprints were found in the mud along the bank of the nearby Big Timber Creek. The footprints showed that recently a man, a dog and a small child had walked together along the creek. The child's footprints were checked alongside Mary Jane's shoes and the sizes matched. With this discovery, the police began to take seriously the prospect that Mary Jane Barker had been kidnapped. The following day, Wednesday, was Mary Jane's 4th birthday. Her parents had ordered a cake for the special day, but with their daughter still missing, they instead used it to make an appeal on the radio and television. Sitting in front of the cake with the 4 unlit candles, Mary's parents begged for her kidnapper to leave Mary Jane at any church. They said, "Won't you please give us the only birthday present we want? Won't you bring back Putsy so she can have her birthday with her family and friends?" Putsy was Mary Jane's nickname. In the wake of these appeals, a number of leads came in. A local shopkeeper had served an intoxicated man who had a girl that looked just like Mary Jane in his car. A priest reported seeing a tall woman carrying an unconscious child that matched Mary Jane's description. This was seen just a few blocks away from where she had vanished. These leads, among others, were taken up, but they always led to a dead end. Nobody could figure out where Mary Jane had gone. By Thursday, even more people volunteered to join the search. The FBI organised the volunteers into search parties and carefully instructed them on how to conduct the search. As Thursday turned into Friday, and Friday turned into Saturday, the hopes of finding Mary Jane Barker alive seemed less and less likely. Despite all of the search efforts, there was just no sign of her. By Sunday, 6 days after her disappearance, volunteers began searching the local dump for a body. Now, to explain what happened next, I'll need to explain a little bit about this situation. This picture shows where Mary Jane was last seen, playing with Dee Dee the spaniel puppy before they both vanished. As I mentioned before, the puppy's owner was a 6-year-old neighbour named Maria Frietta. She and her family lived in this house here. The house next door was owned by Maria's aunt and uncle, Mr. and Mrs. Vessier. In 1957, both of these houses were new builds, but Mr. and Mrs. Vessier hadn't moved into their new home yet because there was still some work being done on it. By Sunday, that work was finally done. The Frietta family and the Vessier family were looking around the newly completed ranch house. 6-year-old Maria Frietta was there with them. As the adults talked in one room, little Maria ran into the front bedroom to explore, and she opened the door of a built-in closet. To her surprise, Dee Dee, her missing puppy, bounded out of the closet, excitedly jumping up at her. Maria then looked into the closet, and to her horror, she found the dead body of Mary Jane Barker slumped in a sitting position. Her screams brought her family members running into the room, and the police were quickly called to the property. It seemed the mystery of Mary Jane's disappearance was finally solved. Instead of getting abducted, Mary Jane had simply wandered into the empty house and locked herself in a closet there. Tragically, there she had slowly wasted away, dying of starvation and fear. However, things might not be so clear-cut. The discovery of her body raised even more questions. For example, the closet she was in wasn't locked. There was a latch on the inside of the closet that opened the door when it was turned. It was a small thumb latch that was quite stiff. Police reckoned that it was probably too difficult for the 4-year-old to twist, so that's why she couldn't get out once the door was shut. This raised another problem though. How was Mary Jane able to pull the door closed using this latch? If it was too tricky for her to turn, she wouldn't have been able to get enough grip to pull the door shut behind her. There's also the issue of the puppy. Dee Dee was described as being in high spirits when the closet door was finally opened. Assuming the dog had been in there without food and water for 6 whole days, why did she seem so full of energy? Sadly, this story doesn't even have a happy ending for Dee Dee the dog. After being found in the closet, she was taken away from the family and denied food and water for a further 18 hours whilst vets attempted to figure out if she'd been fed during the time that Mary Jane was missing. In the end, they euthanized the dog and cut her open to examine the stomach contents. They found that the dog's stomach was empty apart from what looked like the remains of a pencil and some gravel. This matched Mary Jane's autopsy, which showed that she hadn't eaten anything since the chocolate milk that she drank on the Monday morning that she'd vanished. Experts estimated that Mary Jane had lived 3 to 4 days before she died, but a dog could live quite a while longer. This article tells of a dog surviving 14 days without food or water, although it does say that that dog, when it was finally rescued, could hardly lift its head. Why Dee Dee seemed to be full of energy after 6 days is a bit of a mystery, although it is very feasible that she could have lived that long without food and water. Another mystery is the state of the closet floor. Some articles refer to the floor being clean, even though the puppy wasn't housebroken. You'd expect there to be some mess with a child and a puppy being locked in a tiny closet for 6 whole days, but apparently, at least according to this article, there was none. However, I did find other articles that seem to contradict this. This one says police said that the floor of the closet indicated that the girl and dog had been there a long time. I'm not sure whether this is referring to excrement, that sort of thing. There were signs that Mary Jane had been alive in the closet, at least for some time. There were boot marks on the inside of the door that showed that she'd attempted to kick it open, and there was fur from the hood of her coat that had fallen onto the bottom of the closet and down into the basement below through gaps in the floor. Maybe this is what police meant by the floor of the closet indicating that they'd been there a long time. This is one of the problems you get when you're piecing together events from 67-year-old newspaper clippings. You find a lot of information that contradicts itself, so it's hard to determine what the truth is. From what I can tell from reading multiple articles, Mary Jane was in the cupboard, at least for some time while she was alive. It doesn't seem like she or the dog were fed at any time. There's also the question of why nobody found Mary Jane any earlier. The house where she was eventually found was one of the first places that they searched, and it was searched multiple times. Weirdly, a few articles refer to two strangers who supposedly searched the room where Mary Jane was, and they found nothing. This article refers to two men named Reeves and Santagello who searched the house with two other strangers. It says, while Reeves and Santagello searched the basement and heater, the two other men reportedly searched the remainder of the house. Another article tells of the police chief Edward Garrity searching for these two men. Most likely he wanted an explanation as to why they hadn't found her. So who were these men? Why didn't they notice the girl in the closet? Was she even in there when they were searching? It seems that this matter was never resolved, or at least it was never reported in the papers. The same article also mentions a Reverend Harry McIntyre who entered the house at 9:30 AM on the Tuesday, the day after Mary Jane had gone missing. He said that he opened the closet doors in two bedrooms, but not the bedroom where Mary Jane was found. I concentrated on the basement, believing the girl might have fallen down the stairs. It never occurred to me to look in the front bedroom closet. On reflection, I think I should have heard the girl moaning or the dog barking if they were in the closet at that time. This raises another interesting point. Even if for some reason nobody did open that closet, why didn't they hear the dog barking or Mary Jane calling for help and kicking the closet door? As the house was still being finished, there were multiple workmen going in and out of the house over the course of that week, and nobody ever heard anything. There are numerous articles that say that police thought that Mary Jane's body had been placed in the closet only shortly before she was found. The condition of the puppy and the girl's body, and the fact that the house had previously been searched, indicated that she'd been carried there from another place since she disappeared, police declared. Again though, this reporting contradicts the articles that say that Mary had clearly been alive in the closet and had made efforts to escape. The coroners estimated that she'd been dead a few days by the time she'd been found, so how could she have been placed in the closet only recently, unless she'd spent some time in there, been taken out, and then placed back there again? It could be that the police chief was just saying that to try and save face. After all, it must be pretty embarrassing to organise such a huge search for a missing girl, only to discover that she was stuck in the closet of a house next door the whole time. It could also simply be that this was their initial theory and they changed their mind as more evidence came to light. The coroner did issue a certificate of accidental death by starvation and exposure. There was no sign of violence or molestation on Mary Jane's body, and there was no sign that she'd been anywhere other than that one closet. The real mystery seems to be how she got in there and how nobody found her for 6 days. If the reports are true and she couldn't have closed the door herself, then somebody else must have done it, and there is a couple of suspects. Some people have suggested that it could have been Mary Jane's friend, Maria Frietta. If Mary Jane was playing with Maria's puppy, then it was likely that Maria was there too. As the house was owned by Maria's aunt and uncle, that would make sense as to why they felt they could go in there. For Mary Jane to hide in a closet, she'd probably need somebody to hide from, so it could be that the two of them were playing some sort of hiding game and Maria decided to close Mary Jane in the closet as a prank. Once Mary Jane was reported missing and the whole town was searching for her, Maria might not have been able to get back into the house to let her out. According to some reports, once there were search parties investigating that house, they would have someone standing guard on the door to make sure nobody else could come in. This would also explain why, when Maria's family finally went into the house 6 days later, Maria seemed to make a beeline for that particular closet and opened it up. This is all speculation, of course, but it was something that was considered at the time. As this article says, investigators were going on the theory that Mary Jane was unable to shut the door, that possibly a playmate, still unidentified, may have shut her in, ran home, and was afraid to tell anyone what occurred. There is another suspect. He might be slightly less likely, but I don't know. It's worth mentioning anyway. This was Vern Lovering. He was a 43-year-old known sex offender who lived in the same area. He was arrested for molesting an 8-year-old girl. He was arrested the very same day that Mary Jane went missing, and he was held for multiple days and questioned numerous times about Mary Jane's disappearance. For a while he was considered the prime suspect in this case. He was eventually ruled out after a careful examination of his car that showed that there was no hairs from Mary Jane or the missing dog. However, on the Friday before Mary Jane's body was found, police received a call from somebody demanding $500 for Mary Jane Barker's safe return. Police had a suspicion that Lovering had made this call, and he was brought in for questioning once again. One interesting detail to come out of Lovering's interrogation is that he admitted that he was very close to Mary Jane's house around 10:30 AM on that Monday morning, the exact time and date that she disappeared. So could Lovering have trapped Mary Jane in the closets? Perhaps he was planning to return to her at a later time? He was arrested soon after she went missing and he was held for a few days, so maybe that's why she was left in there to die. As I say, this one is a bit more of a stretch, but as he was a prime suspect and he was in the area at the time, it's worth considering. We'll never know how Mary Jane ended up trapped in that closet, or why nobody heard her cries for help. What we do know is that dying of starvation and dehydration is one of the most horrific ways to go, and that's how Mary Jane Barker died. Most likely, she died on her birthday, meters away from home, hearing the shouts of the people searching for her. So, thank you for watching this video. I hope you found it interesting. There was something else that I was going to put in the video, but I left it out because I'm not sure if I can back this up in any way. I'll throw it in here at the end, but take it with a pinch of salt because I'm not sure if this is right. When I was researching this, I'm sure that I found an article that revealed that Vern Lovering was working as a floor sander in the very same house where Mary Jane's body was found. This happens quite a lot when I'm researching stuff. Sometimes I find something interesting and I don't know, I must forget to bookmark it or something, and then when I'm looking for it later I just can't seem to follow the same trail that led me to it in the first place. If anyone knows if there's any truth in this, then drop a comment and I'll pin it. If he was sanding floors in that house, then he would have known the layout of it and he would know that it was empty and unlocked. It could very well be that I'm just misremembering something else that I read. The closest I could find was an article saying that he was employed a few blocks away from Mary's house, so I'm not sure. Anyway, big thank you as always to everyone on Patreon who is supporting the channel. Thank you very much. I'm still trying to move house, so the videos might be a bit slow coming out, but I've never been that quick at getting videos out anyway, so what's new? Here's some more videos you might enjoy. Thank you for watching. Until next time, goodbye.